It's TK Friday and it's time for another full edit. Today it's the Red Lagoon. Stay tuned. Hello everyone and welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly and welcome to TK Friday. And today we'll be doing another full edit. Today's image is from Jay Carver. And this image is the Red Lagoon in Bolivia. A really cool image. All these really nice flamingos in this red water. Pretty cool image. We're going to have fun developing this one today with the TK9 plugin for Photoshop. Now, as always, you can download this image and the PDF notes and give this edit a try. It's a great way of learning how to use the TK9 plugin for Photoshop. If you have an image you would like me to edit on a TK Friday, I'll have a contact link in the description of this video. Just go into the description, click on more, open it up. Scroll down through, you'll find that contact me link. Contact me and we can discuss doing one of your images on a TK Friday. By the way, if you don't yet own the TK9 plugin for Photoshop, I'll have links in the description below this video that'll take you over to Tony Kepper's web store. There you're going to find the TK9 plugin for Photoshop, a lot of great panels over there you can pick up. Sean Bagshaw's training videos, which I highly recommend. And you'll also find the TK Grayscale and TK Magic Mixer plugins. They're sold as a bundle. You'll get both plugins for $12. If you're into black and white photography, you'll love TK Grayscale and TK Magic Mixer. Use my promo code DK15 and you'll save 15% off your entire purchase. When you use my promo code, I make a small commission, and this helps to support my channel, so I really appreciate it when you use my promo code. And not only are you helping me out, but you're getting 15% off. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, as always, I start out here in Lightroom Classic. I'm using a linear profile in this image, and I use it just to keep a relatively flat image going into Photoshop because I'll be using the TK9 plugin for Photoshop to do all the heavy lifting on this edit. After applying the linear profile, I click Auto just to get a rough edit on the image, and I make sure I'm not clipping my white or black point, and I'll adjust my whites and blacks accordingly if I am. As far as detail, I'm using Lightroom's AI denoise, no sharpening on the image. As far as lens corrections, I always check on remove chromatic aberration, enable profile corrections, and then for transform, I just click Auto just to make sure the image is nice and straight. Now, I did do a crop in this image. I did a 16:9 crop. But other than that, that was it. Oh, I did change the white balance from auto to daylight. But that was it. Now, at this point, I just right-click on the image, go to Edit In, and click on Edit in Photoshop 2026. We're now up to Photoshop 2026 if you've done the latest update. And now here we are in Photoshop 2026, ready to get started. If you're noticing something new in my Photoshop workspace, you're not wrong. It's TK Opacity Plus. Tony just released a blog post telling us about the new and free TK Opacity Plus plugin. So you want to go and read that blog post. I'll have a link in the description below this video. Pick up the TK Opacity Plus plugin. It's absolutely free. As I said, you're going to really enjoy it. It's really going to help your workflow, help to speed it up. And while you're reading the blog post, don't forget to click subscribe so you can keep up to date with everything Tony is doing. I really highly recommend the Good Light Journal. I will be using TK Opacity Plus in this video, so be watching out for that. Now, the first thing I want to do is do my opening balance and contrast adjustment for sky and foreground, just to make sure everything evens out and to build up some contrast in this image. The PDF notes show you how to do it the long way around, which is really easy to do. But for sake of time in this video, I'm just going to use David Tillet's BNC Landscape Photoshop Action. I'll click on the BNC Landscape Action. And you'll note I have a separate foreground and a separate sky layer. They're both intersected with MidTones 3 masks, and the only reason for that is to keep the shadows and highlights from getting clipped when I make the adjustments with the color grading tool. I'll start out with the midtone adjustment, so come up to the color grading tool and click the midtone button. And I just want to open up the midtones a little bit over to right there, plus 17. Now I want to give them a slight color grade, so I'm going to click right here. See my cursor? Anywhere you click on this color wheel, you will add a color grade, and I'm going to click like right about here. And that warms up the midtones a bit. Now we'll click on the shadow button. And now let's darken the shadows. I'll take the brightness slider to the left and we'll take it over to right there, -35. And now let's click on the sky layer. And I just want to work with the midtones. I'll click on the midtone button and I want to open up those midtones to right there, 37. And I want to give them a bit of a color grade. So I'm going to click like right about here. And that just cools off the sky a little bit more. Now we can see where we've started from. If we come to the Combo 6 panel, click this button right here, the before after button. We started out here and now we're here. So we're off to a really good start. Now we can study the image and see where we need to go next. I'm done with the color grading tool. I'll click X and close it. I think some mid-tone contrast would be great. So to do that, we're going to come to the multi-mask panel. Click this button right here to add a curves adjustment layer. On the multi-mask panel, click this button and we'll open up the adjust layer mask panel. I'm working on mid-tone, so I'll start out by clicking the mid-tone 1 button. What this panel lets us do is sample out different luminosity masks, and I'm working with mid-tones. Now I want to make a curves adjustment in mid-tone, so I have mid-tones 1 selected. So come to the presets, click the drop down, and I decided after some experimentation to use the medium contrast curve. So I'm going to give that a click and watch the image when I do. Okay, it's kind of a weaker effect right there with midtones 1. Here's midtones 2. See, it's a stronger effect, and here's midtones 3. This panel is great when you want to test out different luminosity masks. I think I'll go with midtones 3. Now it's really darkened up the midtones. We're going to lighten those up here in a sec, but right now we're done with the adjust layer mask, so we'll click the X and close the panel. Now let's lighten up the midtones. Come up to the multi-mask panel, click on the Luminosity Mask button. We want to lighten up midtones. We could use midtones 1, 2, or 3, and I think I'm going to go with 2. I think that's going to work. We're going to output that to a curves adjustment layer, so we'll click this button on the multi-mask panel. We want to lighten, so we need a screen blend mode to lighten, so click this button on the Combo or CX panel, SCR. That gives us a screen blend mode. Now we can look at TK Opacity Plus, and let me show you how cool this is to really help us speed up our workflow. You'll notice we have 2 rows of buttons here. The top row deals with opacity. We can lower the opacity by clicking these lower numbers or raise it by going up to 10. And then as far as fill, we can adjust fill with the bottom row of numbers, okay? And right now we're only concerned with opacity. So right now we're on 10. If you right click on any one of these numbers, you'll shut your layer off. So I'll right click on 10. You can see that's without the adjustment. I'll right click again and now the adjustment's back at full opacity of 100% when it's on 10. If I click on the 1, now we're at 10% opacity. The 2 would be 20 and so on. 4 would be 40%, 50, 8 would be 80%, and let me click the 6. This is 60%. Now, if you wanted to go between a percentage like 60 and 70, you can still come and click right here and adjust this. And notice when I do, if I go to 64%, now you'll notice 6 and 7 have a slight green outline around them. That lets us know we're between these 2 numbers right here. But if I just click on the 6, we're now at 60%. But isn't this cool? We can just click on these numbers and see which opacity value we like the best. And for this image, I think I like 60. So I clicked on the 6. And that's how easy it is. Now, if I want to see before and after, just right click on any of the buttons. I'll right click on 6. There's before and there's after. So that's another nice feature of Opacity Plus. By the way, if you click on any layer, it'll reset itself for the opacity of that layer. So right now, I'm at 60%. If I click on this layer, you can see it's at 10, 100%. Now, when I click back on this layer, you'll see it's at 60%. So that's nice. So go ahead and download Opacity Plus today. I think you're going to really like it. The next thing I want to do is darken up the shadows in this foreground area right around here. So to do that, come up to the multi-mask panel. Let's click on the Luminosity Mask button. Now I want to target dark tones, and what I want here is like darks 3. So I'll click darks 3, and we could try these different color channels like red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, and yellow. And I think I like what I'm seeing with magenta. And now I need to output this. So come to the hamburger menu right here, give that a click, and I'm going to use a multiply brush. So I'm going to click this button right here. And you'll note I have a curves adjustment layer in the multiply blend mode with a black hide all mask, and I am painting through a selection, that darks 3 selection. Now I want to use a brush opacity of like 20%. If you're not at 20%, just type your 2 key. That's the shortcut to put you at 20% brush opacity. And now with a nice soft edge brush, we're just going to paint on the adjustment. Now when you lift your brush and paint again, it'll get a little bit darker. So I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to go over in here, maybe over in here a little bit, back up in here, and maybe over here a little bit more. Let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. Again, before and after, and that's pretty good. I like it. I went ahead and zoomed in. See the shadows on these birds right here? They got a little too dark, and I want to correct that, so let me show you how we can do it. The first thing I need to do is put this in a group so we can mask this mask. And to do that, come to the Converse Shakes panel, click the right side of the group button. That puts it in a group with a white reveal all mask. And then come up to the multi-mask panel, hold down your Command or Control key. See this button right here for edge masks? When you hold Command or Control and click it, you're going to get a half edge mask. Now you can choose the dark or the light side. I'll choose the dark side, so click dark. A Gaussian blur dialog comes up, and then you can fine tune with this. You know, you can tighten this up. But I think in my case, I want this like right about here, 34.6, and then click OK. Now we can refine this further by clicking on the levels button right here. And what I want to do is shift the midtones to the right to tighten this up even more. And I want to take it over to right there, 53. Now let's lighten it up. I'll take the highlight slider, drag it into the left over to 174, and let's tighten it up. I'll take the shadow slider and drag it into the right, and we'll take this over to 72. See how we're really targeting the shadows of these birds. And now we need to output this mask. Click this button right here. When you click it, you're going to get a white mask painting through a selection with a black brush. Now I want 100% opacity, so right now I'm at 20. I'll type my 0 key, and then just look for these birds that have dark underbellies and just paint over them. And when you do, you're going to reduce the darkening effect. Now you can lift your brush and paint again. It'll get less dark when you do that. I'm just looking for all the shadow areas on the birds and painting over those shadow areas just to remove that darkening effect from the previous step. I'll finish this off and then I'll get back and show you my final result. And I'm back. Now just look in this area right in here. Look at the shadow areas. Now I'm going to disable this mask by clicking the X. Here's before. See how those areas are darker? And I'll click it again, and here's after. Again, before and after. See, it just lightens those areas back up, which looks more natural. Now, if we want to see what this mask looks like, we're on this layer, click the double arrow button, and you can see how nicely that is targeted. Just the shadow areas of the birds. Pretty cool. Click this button again. We go back to the image. And now I'll shut off this group. This is before darkening the shadows, and now here is after. So I really like this. The next thing I want to do is bring up the saturation on these yellow grasses and maybe warm them up even a little more. To do that, we'll use a color mask. So come to the multi-mask panel and click this button right here. A color picker comes up, and I want to sample a color in here, maybe right here, and click OK. And that targets those areas nicely. What I may do is tighten it up by taking this top handle and dragging it into the right a good bit, maybe over to here. And let's go ahead and lighten that up a little bit, maybe over to maybe right about here. Maybe I'll tighten this up just a little bit more to right there. And now I want to output this mask to a hue saturation adjustment layer. So we'll click this button right here. I want to increase the saturation, and I'll take it right there, 45. I want to shift the hue a little warmer. I'll take this to the left over to right there, -4. And let's darken that up a little bit with the lightness slider. So I'll drag this over to the left over to right there, -21. Now I made a mistake here because, and I'll leave this in, if you don't close the group first, the next adjustment will go in the group. I should have clicked right here to close that group first. But all I need to do is click on the mask and drag it up out of that group. That's a mistake I make a lot, and I'm sure some of you out there do too. That's why I left it in. So now you know what to do if that happens to you. And now let me shut off this adjustment. Here's before and here's after. Again, before and after, and I like it. Now, the next thing I want to do is add some soft pop to the image, but only to the shadows. It'll bring out a little bit of detail and punch up the color a little bit. So on your combo or CX panel, look for your TK action button. Give that a click if your actions aren't open. Mine are already opened, and my soft pop action is right here. I'm just going to click on that. And now we've added the pop to the image. Now it's way too strong, and I only want it in the shadows. So the first thing I want to do is come to the multi-mask panel, click on the Edit Blend If button. I only want it in dark tones, so look at the image when I click on Darks 1. See how things changed a bit? I'll shut off the Blend If by unchecking gray. That's before and that's after. But it's too strong, so what I want to do is use Opacity Plus to reduce the opacity. And you know what? I'm going to start at 10%. Here's 10%, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and I think I like 70%. Now, if I right click on the 7, this is before. I'll right click again on the 7, and this is after, and I think I like that. Oh, by the way, you see this area that is in green right here? This is letting us know that we're using 15% of fill, and that's why this button is green. Now, I don't want this effect in the sky, so come to the Combo or CX panel, click on the Layer Mask Calculator, and then click on Sky and click minus to subtract it out. And now let me shut off the soft pop layer. Here's before and here's after. Now it's only in the foreground. Now what I want to do is just darken up this area down here in the foreground just to keep the viewer into the frame. I'm not going to use a gradient this time. I'm going to use a multiply brush. Hold down your shift key and click on the multiply button. That'll give you a multiply brush. It's a curves adjustment layer with a black hide all mask in the multiply blend mode. Now, if your Edit Blend If isn't opened up, click this button right here. I want to target the midtones, so I'm going to click on MidTones 1, and then Blend If will control that to stay in the midtones. And now click on the mask. You do have a white brush. I'm going to use 50% opacity. Right now I'm at 100%. I'll type my 5 key. And what I want to do is just, with a nice soft edge brush, paint over this area down in here. And I'll paint over here as well, just to darken it up. And I'm only darkening up midtones. That's it. So right like that. And I think that'll do it. Let me shut this off. Here is before and here's after. See how that just tones that down and keeps the viewer into the frame. Now, again, if the effect is too strong, you may want to click on the 7 button to give us 70%. There's 70%. There's 80%. There's 100% if I click the 10. Let's go maybe down to like 80%. I'll shut this off. Here's before and here's after. We're getting close to being done. I want to do a color luminosity adjustment. So if your TK actions aren't open, click a TK button on the Combo or CX panel. Look for color loom, give that a click. This will let us adjust the luminosity values of all these different colors here. And what I want to do is maybe lighten up my reds a little bit to maybe right here. And maybe the yellows, I'll lighten those up a little bit over to maybe right there. Not much green here, I'm not going to touch it. And cyans, maybe I'll lighten up the cyans a little bit. Maybe over to 116. And now the blues, I think I'll lighten the blues up just a little bit. Maybe to right here. And now the magentas, I think I'll lighten those up a little bit to right there. Now let me shut this off. Here's before. And here's after. Again, before and after. I like it. Now I want to adjust the vibrance of this image. And to do that, I'll use a saturation vibrance mask. Now right now, my Edit Blend If panel is in the way. I'll click the X. Nothing changes on Blend If layers. Click this button right here to get a saturation vibrance mask. And I generally will use like Vibrance 4 for this. It's targeting the weaker colors. I'm going to click on 4. And I think that's going to be good. And now I need to output this. Come down and click on the hamburger menu because you'll find the vibrance adjustment here. So give that a click. And now notice I have a color and vibrance adjustment. Now this is new in Photoshop 2026. We now have a temperature and a tint slider in here, which is really exciting to me. So I'm happy about that. So what I want to do is warm up the weaker colors a little bit with the temperature. And then I want a slight increase of saturation. I'll start out with temperature. See, we can warm up those weaker colors there. I don't want too much here, just a little wee bit, like +4. That's it. And now a little bit of a saturation boost I'll drag the saturation slider to the right over to right there, plus 20. Now let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. Again, before and after. And I really like that adjustment. And now for the final step. If you thought Vignette, you were 100% correct. By the way, do you like the new TK Opacity Plus? I absolutely love it, and I hope you do too. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If your TK actions aren't open, click a TK button on the combo or CX panel, look for Vignette, give that a click, a Gaussian blur dialog comes up, just click OK. It defaults at 30% opacity, as you can see right here from Opacity Plus. This is really cool to let you know where your opacities are at really quick at a glance. I want to keep it out of the darkest dark, so we'll use Blend If for that. So click the Edit Blend If button, click on No Darks 2. That keeps it out of the darkest darks. Let me shut this off. Here's before the vignette. Here is after. And I like the 30% default opacity. Well, that's the entire edit, and now we come to my favorite part, and I do hope you give this edit a try. Download the image and the PDF notes and try it out. And now for the overall before and after. So on the combo or CX panel, look for this button right here. It's the before after button. Give it a click. We started out here, and now we end up here. This was a fun edit, some different techniques in this one, so again, please give it a try. Well, there it is, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed TK Friday today, and I hope you enjoyed this full edit of Red Lagoon. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like and share it with your friends. If you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe, click the bell notification icon, click all so that you receive all notifications, and then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll get notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. And I will see you all right here next time. But until then, happy editing.